While you are a participant in the UNJ SPF, you are covered for the risk of death in service. What this means is if you die in service and at that time are married and/or have dependent children under the age of 21 who are duly reported to the fund prior to your separation from service or death in service, then your surviving spouse or spouses and children under the age of 21 might be entitled to a survivor's benefit. In the case of a surviving spouse, the benefit is payable for life. In the case of a surviving child, the benefit stops when the child turns 21, except for children recognized as disabled by the fund. Under very specific conditions, a divorced spouse might also be entitled to a divorced surviving spouse's benefit. If there is no spouse, divorced spouse, and/or child entitled to a benefit, then a surviving secondary dependent, such as a parent or sibling recognized as such by your employing organization, might be entitled to a survivor's benefit. The coverage for survivor's benefits exists from the very first day of your UNJ SPF participation, provided you are medically cleared by your employing organization. It is extremely important that you report all your dependents to your employing organization, and that you inform your HR office of any changes in a timely manner, so that the fund is aware of all your potential survivors. If you die after separation from service, while entitled to a disability or retirement benefit from the fund, one or more of the same survivor's benefits might become payable, and the logic is the same. Again, the survivors entitled to a benefit could be your spouse, divorced spouse, and/or your eligible children. If you don't have any of these survivors, a secondary dependent recognized as such by your employing organization might be entitled to a benefit. Please note that if you got married after you separated from service, your new spouse will not be entitled to a survivor's benefit unless you purchase an annuity for them. To do this, you would have to inform the fund and make the request in writing within 1 year of the date of marriage. You need to be aware that children conceived after you retired are not entitled to a survivor's benefit. When you separate from service because of disability or retirement, the fund will require you to submit copies of valid government-issued IDs and birth certificates for yourself, your spouse or spouses, any former spouses, and all your children under the age of 21, or over 21 if they are recognized as disabled. The fund will also need a copy of your marriage certificate and any divorce or death certificates of previous spouses. If you have secondary dependents, the fund will also need copies of their birth certificates. You can submit these copies either through your employing organization or directly to the fund during your separation process. If your marital status changes after you separated, it's important that you inform the fund and that you provide the relevant documentation to the fund. It's a good idea for you and your survivors to create a file with copies of the aforementioned supporting documents, as well as the survivor's booklet printed from this website and the UNJ SPF contact details, so that all this information is readily available when needed. Watch the video, "Are you a survivor of a UNJ SPF retiree or beneficiary?" for additional details. You can also visit the fund's webpage for survivors.